welcome to this deep dive. And we're going deep, people.
Deep.
We're going deep into C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters, but not just reading them. We're going to be like...
Dissecting.
Yeah, dissecting them. You've provided excerpts from various letters.
Yeah.
And that gives us a really unique opportunity to get inside the mind of...
The bad guys.
The bad guys.
So to speak.
Yeah, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
it's a really fun way to look at spiritual warfare.
it is. It's like...
You know, we always hear about how we resist temptation.
Right.
But what if we look at it from the perspective of the demons?
Yeah.
How do they see it? What are their strategies?
What are they trying to do?
What are they trying to do to us? And Lewis gives us that perspective in the Screwtape Letters.
He does. And it's kind
He
of...
flips the script.
He flips the script.
It's great.
So we're seeing it through the eyes of Screwtape, a senior demon who's mentoring his nephew, Wormwood,
That's right.
on how to corrupt a human soul.
Yeah. How to win a soul to hell. I
Yeah.
mean, that's his goal.
Okay, so I have to ask, what's one of the most surprising things you found in these letters?
Uh-huh.
I mean, going in, I thought demons would want us to be like
Oh, gosh.
constantly sinning, making huge dramatic mistakes.
You would think, right.
Yeah.
You would think, oh, let's get them to commit adultery. Let's get them to murder. Let's
Yeah.
get them to do all these big...
Big, huge sins. Big,
But-
huge sins.
But that's not what he says.
No, it's
What does he say?
the power of distraction,
Oh, really?
of keeping the human soul
Okay.
so busy
So busy.
and preoccupied with everyday things
Okay.
that they never really stop to think
About the bigger picture.
about spiritual matters.
Okay, so it's more like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It really is.
Instead of the big, huge...
It's the little things that get you.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
it's so effective.
Okay.
He even talks about how
Mm.
simple things like jargon and trendy ideas
Yeah.
can be so effective.
It's all about distraction. It is.
Creating that fog.
Yeah, fog of distraction that
Right.
prevents the soul from seeing clearly.
Okay, so keep them so busy chasing the latest fads, scrolling through social media, worrying about their work deadlines, that they never even have time
Yes,
to think about God.
that's exactly it.
Wow.
And it's not just about keeping them busy.
Okay.
It's about keeping them from thinking deeply.
Okay.
So he actually advises Wormwood to encourage
Mhm.
the use of jargon,
Oh, really?
of vague, meaningless language,
Okay.
because it prevents real meaningful reflection.
So instead of having real conversations about faith,
Yes.
you're just throwing around
Buzzwords.
buzzwords and
It's
slogans
what
that ultimately mean nothing.
Yeah, and that's what they want, right?
That's exactly what they want.
They want that shallowness.
Yes.
Because then they can exploit it.
Yes.
Okay.
They can come in and fill that void with
Right.
their own...
Their own garbage.
That's right. Now, you mentioned earlier how Screwtape sees distraction as a key tactic.
Mm-hmm.
But he also talks about how demons can even weaponize something that's supposed to be good,
Oh, yes.
like going to church.
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts.
Really?
Because you think, okay,
Yeah.
they don't want us to go to church, but
Right.
he's like, no, no, no.
Use it.
Use it.
Okay, so how? How do they weaponize church?
Well, he says focus on the mundane aspects.
Okay.
Like the appearances of other people.
Okay.
The slight annoyances in the service.
Okay.
Anything to distract from the
Works.
true purpose of worship.
So instead of experiencing that sense of community and connection with God, you're just like, ugh, I don't like that person's hat.
That's right.
Or this sermon's boring.
Exactly. It's about turning the focus inward
Oh.
toward yourself
Okay.
and your petty grievances
Right.
rather than outward
Yeah.
toward God and his love.
So you go to church seeking nourishment for your soul, but you leave
Empty
and
dissatisfied.
dissatisfied.
And that's exactly what they want.
Wow. So it's like the very place that's supposed to be a refuge
Yes.
from temptation
Yes.
becomes a breeding ground for it.
That's exactly it. And
Now-
that's what I love about Screwtape Letters.
It's like so insightful.
It is.
It makes you think about things
in a whole new way.
in a totally different way.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked about distraction and how even church can be used as a tool for temptation. But what about prayer? Surely they wouldn't want us to pray right.
You would think so, right?
I would think so.
But Screwtape has some advice.
He does.
He does.
On how to make prayer.
Ineffective.
Oh, so it's not about stopping us from praying?
No.
It's about...
Making it useless?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do they do that? How do they take something so powerful as prayer and twist it?
One of the things he suggests is to encourage the human soul to focus on the feelings they get from prayer
Okay.
rather than on genuine connection with God.
Okay, so instead of approaching prayer with like an open heart and willingness to listen,
Yes.
you're just like, am I feeling spiritual enough?
Yes. Is this giving me good feelings?
Okay.
Because then it becomes all about you
Right.
and your emotional state rather than about surrender to God's will.
It's almost like turning prayer into a performance.
It is.
Where you're trying to impress God with how holy you sound.
Precisely.
Or how eloquent you are.
Exactly.
And that's what they want.
Well, it's exactly what they want.
Because then you're focused on
yourself.
Instead of on God.
Instead of on God.
And that creates that barrier.
Right.
That separation.
It's like you're trying to microwave your spiritual growth.
Oh, I like that.
Instead of letting it simmer slowly over time.
That's a good one.
Speaking of time, Screwtape also brings up this concept of the law of undulation.
Yes.
Which is about the natural ebb and flow of human emotions and spiritual fervor.
And I think this is where
we see...
Yeah, it's not just about...
It's not just about tempting people to blatant sin.
Right.
It's about exploiting those natural fluctuations in our spiritual lives.
So what is he saying about these ebbs and flows? Why are they so important to the demons?
Well, he explains that humans naturally go through periods of intense spiritual connection.
Okay.
Right, those mountaintop experiences.
Right.
But then they also
go through valleys.
Right. The troughs.
Yeah.
Where their faith feels dry and distant.
Okay.
And it's during those valleys, those times of spiritual dryness, that the demons see.
Their greatest
opportunity.
Really? Why is that? I would think that they would prefer to attack when our faith is already
weak. Well, this is where his perspective is so interesting.
Right.
He actually sees those troughs as part of God's plan, as opportunities for growth and refinement. It's like a spiritual workout, pushing us to rely more fully on God's strength. So when we push through those periods of doubt, we actually come out stronger on the other side.
Okay, but of course the demons
don't want that.
They want us to wallow in those troughs of dryness, to give in to despair, and believe that God has abandoned us.
Right, like, he's not there.
He's gone.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Like they're waiting for us to trip, to stumble, so that they can pounce and drag us away.
That's a great image.
Yeah, like vultures.
Yes.
And they have a lot of clever tactics for doing that.
Oh, they do.
One that he talks about quite a bit is encouraging.
Christianity.
Yeah. And what does he mean by that?
Well, he's talking about the tendency to dilute the faith. To mix it with other things, other ideologies or fads. So that it loses its potency.
So it becomes
Christianity and politics. Christianity and self-help. Right. Christianity and
whatever the
latest trend is. And, it's no longer pure Christianity.
Right.
It's been diluted.
It's been weakened. So instead of embracing those core tenets of Christianity, you end up getting distracted by all these add-ons that really don't have anything to do with your relationship with God.
And it's so easy to do.
It is.
Because we want
to fit in.
We want to fit.
We want to be relevant.
You want to be relevant.
Yeah.
But, the danger is that we lose
the essence.
We lose the essence of our faith in the process.
So we've got distraction. We've got the weaponization of good things.
Yes.
We've got the dilution of faith.
Yes.
It's starting to feel like a pretty comprehensive playbook.
It is.
For spiritual sabotage.
It is.
It really is. And what's so striking is how relevant it is to our lives today.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though Lewis wrote this decades ago.
Decades ago.
It's like he could have written it yesterday.
Yes. It's timeless. It is.
Yeah, I mean, think about how easy it is to get distracted in our modern world.
Oh, my goodness.
We're constantly bombarded with
information. Stimulation.
It's a recipe for distraction.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get caught up in the latest trends.
Yes.
Or to let our faith be influenced by
outside forces.
Things
that have nothing to do with God.
Right, exactly. And that's why I think understanding these demonic strategies is so important.
It's crucial.
It's like having a roadmap of the enemy's territory.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, you can anticipate his moves and be better prepared to defend yourself.
Exactly.
So forewarned is forearmed.
I love that.
But speaking of sneaky tactics, Screwtape also had some interesting things to say about love.
He did.
Didn't he? He seemed to see it as a double-edged sword.
Something that could be used for
good or evil.
For good or evil.
That's right.
He talks about how
how demons can exploit that human experience of being in love.
Okay.
To manipulate and control people, to create jealousy, possessiveness.
Yeah.
Even to lead people into making decisions that
hurt themselves,
that harm themselves or others.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, love can be
such a powerful emotion.
It's a powerful emotion.
It can make us do crazy things.
It can.
It can.
Okay, so how do they do that? How do they take something as beautiful as love and turn it into a weapon?
Well, one of the things he suggests is to encourage an unhealthy focus on the feeling of being in love, rather than on the commitment and selflessness that true love requires. So you get so caught up in that initial euphoria.
The excitement
of romance that you overlook
red flags.
Those red flags, the signs that
they might not be.
That this might not be healthy or sustainable in the long run.
And then the excitement fades and you're left feeling disillusioned and
disappointed and disappointed.
And that's when they swoop in and say, hey, look over here. This will make you feel better. But of course,
it's a lie.
It's a lie. It's a trap.
And it just leads you further away
from God.
From God and from true love.
That's right.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is.
It's insidious.
It is.
Because it often starts with something
good, the desire for love and connection. But they twist it.
They
distort it.
They make it ugly.
They do.
And you know what's interesting is he doesn't just talk about romantic love.
That's right.
He talks about other forms of love.
He does. Love between friends. Love between family members. Okay, so how do they twist that?
Well, he talks about how they encourage unhealthy attachments. Codependency. Even rivalry between family members.
So instead of being a source of support and encouragement, your family becomes a source of
conflict,
pain,
resentment.
We see that all the time, right?
All the time.
Even in seemingly healthy families.
There can be all this stuff brewing beneath the surface.
Like jealousy. Competition. Resentment.
It's all
It's like instead of celebrating each other's successes, you end up feeling threatened by them.
Exactly.
And that's what the demons want, right?
That's exactly what they want.
They want to
discord and division.
Wherever
they can.
Wow. Okay, so we've got distraction, we've got the weaponization of good things, we've got the delusion of faith. We've got
twisted love.
Anything else in these letters that really jumped out at you? Any other strategies we should be aware of?
Oh, there's one that's particularly disturbing. And that's how demons exploit the human tendency toward unselfishness.
Wait, unselfishness? How can that be a bad thing? Isn't that a virtue?
Oh,
okay.
It is. But Screwtape reveals how even seemingly good acts, like acts of unselfishness, can be corrupted and used to manipulate and control others.
Okay, can you give me an example? I'm having a hard time picturing how unselfishness could be a bad thing.
Okay, imagine someone who is constantly sacrificing their own needs and desires for others. But they do it in a way that makes everyone else feel guilty or obligated.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's not really selfless. It's like
it's passive-aggressive martyrdom. They're not really being selfless. They're trying to control the situation.
And make themselves the victim.
Exactly. And he actually describes how to create these unselfish quarrels where both parties feel like they're the victim.
Wow.
And it just breeds resentment and tension.
So it's like weaponized guilt tripping.
It is.
Oh, wow.
And it highlights how even the best of intentions can be distorted and used for manipulative purposes.
So it's not enough to just do good things.
That's right.
You have to be mindful.
Of your motivations.
And how it impacts other people.
Absolutely. And that requires a level of self-awareness and discernment that can be difficult to cultivate.
Especially in a world that
rewards self-serving behavior.
Self-serving behavior, exactly. It's like we have to be constantly checking ourselves.
Checking your motives.
Checking our motives.
I'm not in here.
Making sure that our actions are aligned with our values and that we're not inadvertently causing harm to others.
And that's what I think is so valuable about these letters.
It's like shining a light on those shadows.
It exposes.
Exposing those hidden traps.
That's right.
That we might otherwise fall into.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
good to be aware of these things.
Be aware.
Be aware of these things.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think we are now.
Good.
So we're We'll take a break.
Okay.
And we'll come back.
Sounds good.
And we'll explore some more of these sneaky tactics that Screwtape reveals.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that makes the Screwtape Letters so effective is that it takes these abstract spiritual concepts and grounds them in very concrete everyday examples.
Yeah, like that whole bit about the patient's wandering mind during prayer.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I think we can all relate to.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like you're trying to focus on God.
Yeah.
But then your mind starts drifting to your grocery list or what you're going to watch on Netflix later. Or, you know, did I leave the stove on?
Exactly.
All those things.
Yeah. What's fascinating is how Screwtape sees that
as a threat.
As a threat.
He hates it.
He actually prefers it when the patient tries to ignore those distractions and just power through the prayer.
That's right.
So why is that a demonic win? They want us to be distracted in prayer.
Well, when we acknowledge those distractions, we're being honest with God. We're admitting our limitations. And asking for his help.
Right.
And that, according to Screwtape, is a dangerous thing.
So it's not about being perfect in prayer.
No.
It's about being real.
Yeah.
It's about bringing those distractions to God and saying, hey, this is where my mind is at.
That's right. Help me.
Yeah. Help me to focus on you.
That's exactly it.
And
you know, I think that's so encouraging.
It is encouraging.
Because it means that even when our minds are all over the place, even when we feel like we're failing at prayer, God still hears us.
Right.
He sees our hearts and he knows our struggles.
Yeah. He knows we're human.
He does.
It takes a lot of pressure off, you know?
It does.
It means we can just be ourselves with God.
Absolutely.
Flaws and all.
Flaws and all.
Which, thinking about it, is kind of a recurring theme in these letters.
Yes, it is.
Screwtape is constantly trying to get the patient to put on a show.
That's right.
To pretend he's something he's not.
That's right. He wants him to focus on outward appearances.
Okay.
Following the rules.
Right.
Looking good in front of others.
Yeah.
Rather than on cultivating a genuine relationship with God.
So he wants us to be more concerned with being seen as good.
Yes.
Than with actually being good.
That's exactly it. And that's why he's so opposed to things like honesty and vulnerability.
Because it makes us look
imperfect.
Imperfect.
But you know what? Those are the very qualities that allow us to connect with God.
Yeah, because when we're honest with God about our struggles, we're opening ourselves up.
To his grace.
To his grace.
To his transforming power. We're saying, I can't do this on my own.
I need you.
I need you.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing, but
it is scary. But
it's also the beginning
of true growth.
Of true growth.
And transformation.
Okay, so we've talked about prayer.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the importance of being real with God.
Yeah.
What other insights did Screwtape offer about the human experience? What else did he see as potential vulnerability?
Well, one of the things that he touches on
okay.
is the human tendency to get caught up in what he calls the stream of immediate sense experiences.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's basically this idea that we are just bombarded with sensory input.
Okay.
Sights, sounds, smells, feelings.
Yeah.
That it's easy to get lost in the moment.
Okay.
And forget about the bigger picture.
So it's like being so focused on what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
That we lose sight of.
The spiritual dimension.
The spiritual dimension of our lives.
Of our lives.
Like we're so busy checking our phones and scrolling through social media.
Yes.
That we forget to actually look up.
That's a great example.
And appreciate the beauty of the world around us.
Exactly.
Or even the people.
The people around us.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And Screwtape sees that as
a major
opportunity for temptation.
Because it's a distraction.
It is.
It's keeping our attention on the
stream.
The stream.
Yeah.
On those immediate pleasures and distractions.
That's right.
Because then we don't have to think about
the big questions.
The big questions.
Yeah.
It's like keep them entertained, keep them distracted, keep them scrolling.
Yes.
So that they never have to face
reality.
Reality.
Like the truth.
And that's something that is so prevalent today.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. We're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation.
Yeah. It's a recipe for disaster spiritually.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is.
So how do we combat that?
Well,
how do we break free from this constant stream of distractions and reconnect with something deeper?
Well, one thing is to be intentional about creating space for silence and reflection in our lives.
Okay, so unplug.
Unplug.
Turn off the phone.
Turn off the phone.
Step away from the computer.
Step away from all the devices.
Yeah.
Get out in nature.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Be quiet.
Be still. Be still.
Yeah.
Listen to your own thoughts, to the sounds around you.
So it's about making that conscious effort to disconnect from the noise.
Absolutely.
And to tune in. To something deeper.
Or something more meaningful.
Yes. And it might mean having to say no to some things.
Okay.
Set some boundaries around your time and energy.
Because if we're not careful,
it's distractions.
Can really start to take over our lives.
They can steal our joy.
That's right.
Our peace.
Our
sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
It's about finding that balance, between engaging with the world and nurturing our
spiritual lives.
That's
right.
And it's a balance that we probably we're always going to be striving for.
Yes.
There will be times
you're going to get swept away.
We get swept away by the current.
Absolutely.
But the important thing is
to keep coming back.
To that place.
That place of stillness.
Of connection with God.
It's like we're swimming upstream, right?
You are. It's hard work.
Yes.
But
it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Because you're heading towards something.
Towards something beautiful and life-giving.
That's right.
Speaking of swimming upstream, Screwtape also talks about the danger of
Christianity.
Yeah. And wait, didn't we already cover that?
We did.
You mentioned it earlier about diluting the faith.
Yeah.
With fads and ideologies.
But I think it's worth revisiting because it's so pervasive and it takes so many forms.
It's not just about adding on trendy ideas to Christianity.
It can also be about subtracting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Subtracting from it.
What do you mean by subtracting from Christianity?
Well, he talks about how demons try to make Christianity more palatable to the world by stripping away its more challenging aspects, like the call to repentance, the need for sacrifice, the importance of obedience.
So it's about making Christianity more comfortable. Less demanding.
It's
like, come on in, the water's fine.
That's right.
No need to change or grow or anything like that.
Yeah, just come as you are.
Right.
Stay the same.
And that's appealing to our human nature.
Oh, it is.
Right.
We don't like to be
uncomfortable.
We don't like to be challenged.
No.
We'd rather
just stick with what's familiar and easy.
But isn't that part of the point of Christianity? To challenge us. To grow.
To become more like Christ.
To
stretch us.
Yes.
Beyond our comfort zone.
Yes.
And to help us. Become the people God created us to be.
And that's exactly what the demons don't want.
They don't want that.
They want to keep us in our comfort zones because that's where we're
most vulnerable.
To their manipulations.
It's like they're saying, just stay here.
Don't rock the boat.
Where it's safe and predictable. Don't venture out into the unknown.
Don't take any risks.
Don't risk anything.
Yeah.
And it's a subtle temptation.
Oh, it's so subtle.
It really is.
It can come disguised as tolerance.
Oh, yeah.
Open-mindedness, even love. Right now. But ultimately, it's about watering down the truth.
It is.
Compromising our values.
Yeah.
Settling for less than what God has for us.
So it's not about being rigid or dogmatic.
No.
But it is about holding on to the core truths of our faith. Even when they're unpopular or inconvenient.
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about the dangers of distraction, the importance of authenticity in prayer.
Yes.
And the need to resist the temptation to water down our faith.
Yeah.
What other insights did Screwtape offer about the spiritual battle we face?
One of the most disturbing things he reveals is that demons actually fear death of a soul in a state of grace.
Wait, I thought we talked about that already too.
We did, yeah.
About how it represents a complete defeat for them.
Yes, but I think it's worth emphasizing because it's such a powerful reminder of the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
Like the good guys.
The good guys win.
Win in the end.
They do.
Even in the midst
of all the darkness and suffering in the world.
God is still in control. Right.
He's still sovereign.
He still loves us.
And he still
desires our salvation. It's a reminder that no matter how bleak things may seem,
there's always hope.
That's
right.
And, Screwtape actually goes into some detail about why demons fear the death of a soul in God's grace.
Yeah. He says it's because it means that soul is forever beyond their reach.
Right.
Eternally united with God.
It's like a permanent loss for their team.
That's right.
So to speak.
Yeah.
It's not just about losing a battle. It's about losing
a war.
The war.
And it's a war.
And it's a war that they know they can't ultimately win.
They can't win.
That's a really encouraging thought.
It is.
It means that even when we feel like we're losing ground,
yes,
even when we're struggling with temptation,
God is still fighting for us.
God is still fighting for us. He's still on our side.
He is.
And,
He's already won.
He's already won the victory.
On the cross.
Yeah, through Christ's death and resurrection.
That's right.
He defeated the powers of darkness. And he secured our victory.
That's right.
So our job
is just to surrender.
His love. To his love.
To trust in his grace.
To trust in his grace.
To trust in his grace.
And to let him fight our battles for us.
Yeah, to let go and let God.
That's it.
And that's not always easy.
Oh, it's hard.
It's hard, but it's the best way.
But it's the best way
to live.
Yeah. Because we have God on our side.
Our side makes all the difference.
Makes all the difference.
It does. So it's about keeping us stuck in a cycle of negativity and despair so that we never really move forward or experience healing and growth. Like, woe is me. Why do bad things always happen to me? It's not fair.
Exactly. And, that's the opposite of self-compassion, which is essential for emotional well-being and resilience. Self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our pain and suffering without getting lost in it. Mm-hmm. It allows us to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding even when we make mistakes.
It does.
So if we want to resist the temptation to self-pity, we need to cultivate self-compassion.
Yes.
To be kind and understanding toward ourselves, to recognize that we're all imperfect and that we all make mistakes.
And that's not always easy.
No, it's not, especially in a culture
that's so focused on achievement.
That's so focused on achievement and success.
And perfection.
Yeah.
We're constantly being bombarded with messages about how we need to be better, do better, have more.
Right. Be thinner, be richer, be happier.
Yes. And it's exhausting.
It is.
And it's not realistic.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We're not machines.
Right. And we're not meant to be perfect. We're meant to be loved and accepted.
That's right.
For who we are.
And that's what self-compassion is all about.
It is. And, self-compassion isn't about letting ourselves off the hook or making excuses for our behavior.
No, it's not.
It's about
treating ourselves.
With
the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a loved one.
Exactly. So if you wouldn't say it to your best friend,
don't say it to yourself.
Don't say it to yourself, right?
That's right.
It's about recognizing that we're worthy of love and forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Even when we mess up. That we're not defined by our mistakes, but by God's unconditional love for us.
That's right.
And, when we cultivate self-compassion, something amazing happens.
What happens?
We become more resilient.
Yes.
More forgiving. More hopeful and more capable of extending compassion to others.
That's right.
It's like self-pity keeps us trapped in a prison of our own making.
It does.
But self-compassion sets us free.
Yes, it does.
To live and to love.
It's right.
To experience the fullness of life that God has for us.
Absolutely.
And, that freedom, that sense of release, is what allows us to live a life that's truly authentic and fulfilling.
It does.
It allows us to move forward with confidence and grace, knowing that we're loved and accepted by God no matter what.
That's the key.
Speaking of freedom,
okay,
Screwtape also talks about the danger of trying to control everything.
Oh, yes.
He says that demons want us to believe we're in control of our lives.
Because it gives us a sense of false security.
Yeah, that makes sense. The illusion of control can be so seductive.
It can.
Because it makes us feel safe and secure.
Yes, it does.
But the reality is,
I know,
we're not really in control of very much.
Not at all.
And Screwtape is very clear about why the illusion of control is so dangerous.
It makes us try to manipulate and control others.
Okay.
It makes us anxious.
About things we can't control.
About things that are outside of our control.
Right.
It makes us afraid to let go and trust God.
So it's about keeping us in a state of constant striving.
Yes.
Trying to force our will on the world.
Yes.
Instead of surrendering to God's plan and trusting in his provisions. Like, I've got this. I don't need any help. I can handle it all on my own.
That's right.
And that's the opposite of
surrender.
Surrender
is essential for peace, joy, and freedom.
So if we want to resist the temptation to control, we need to cultivate surrender.
Yes.
To let go of our need to be in control.
That's right.
To trust that God is bigger than our circumstances.
Yeah.
And that He has a plan for our lives.
Right.
Like, okay, God, I'm letting go of the reins. You take over. I trust you.
That's it.
And surrender isn't about giving up or becoming passive.
It's not.
It's about recognizing that we're not God.
That's right.
And that we don't have to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders.
That's right.
It's about trusting that God is in control and that he's working all things together for good.
Even when we don't.
Even when we don't understand. It's about letting go of the oars and letting God steer the boat.
That's a great analogy.
And, when we cultivate surrender, something amazing happens.
What happens?
We become more peaceful,
yeah,
more joyful, more free, and more open to God's guidance and provision.
That's right. It's like a weight has been lifted.
Yeah, it's like trying to control everything makes us feel exhausted and overwhelmed.
Yes, it does.
But surrender makes us feel
light
and free, like a huge weight has been lifted off our shoulders.
That's a great way to put it.
And that lightness, that sense of freedom, is what allows us to live a life that's truly aligned with God's will.
That's right.
And purpose for our lives.
Absolutely.
It's a life that's not free from challenges or difficulties.
No.
But it's a life that's filled with
peace,
joy, and purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about control, about surrender, about the importance of letting go and trusting God.
Yes.
What else did Screwtape reveal about the demon's playbook? What other traps do they set for us?
Well, one that a lot of people struggle with is perfectionism.
Okay.
He says that demons want us to strive for perfection because they know that perfectionism is an unattainable goal.
Yeah.
That will always leave us feeling inadequate and disappointed.
It makes sense. Perfectionism can be such a harsh taskmaster.
It can.
Because it sets us up for failure.
It does.
And makes us feel like we're not good enough.
Yes.
It's like, if I'm not perfect, then I'm a complete failure.
That's right. And there's no room for mistakes.
There's no room for error. And Screwtape is very clear about why perfectionism is so dangerous. He says that it makes us afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, we're paralyzed.
That it makes us procrastinate and avoid taking risks.
Yes.
That it makes us critical and judgmental.
Of ourselves and others.
Of ourselves and others.
That's right.
So it's about keeping us paralyzed by fear so that we never really step out in faith.
That's it.
And embrace the life that God has for us.
Yes.
Like, I can't try that because I might mess up.
Yeah.
I can't put myself out there because I might get rejected.
That's right.
And, that's the opposite of grace, which is God's unmerited favor and love.
Yes.
That empowers us to be our best selves, even when we're not perfect.
That's right.
So if we want to resist the temptation to perfectionism, we need to embrace grace to recognize that we're not perfect, that we're going to make mistakes, and that God loves us anyway.
That's right.
And
grace isn't about lowering our standards.
Right.
Or settling for mediocrity.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're not God.
Right.
And we don't have to be perfect.
Right.
It's about accepting ourselves as we are.
Flaws and all.
Right. And trusting that God is working in us to make us more like him.
It's about letting go of the need to be perfect.
Yes.
And embracing the freedom to be human.
To be human.
To make mistakes.
To
learn.
To learn.
To become more like Christ in the process.
That's right.
And, when we embrace grace, something amazing happens.
What happens?
We become more compassionate toward ourselves and others.
Yes.
More forgiving. More willing to take risks. And more open to God's transforming power in our lives.
That's it.
It's like perfectionism keeps us trapped in a cage of our own making.
It does.
But grace sets us free to fly.
Yes, it does.
To soar to new heights, to experience the fullness of life that God has for us.
That's right.
It's incredible how C.S. Lewis, writing from the perspective of a demon, can offer such profound insights into the human experience.
It is.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to our souls.
Yes.
Revealing our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, and the subtle ways that we can be tempted.
And it's so interesting that these letters weren't written for theologians or philosophers. They were written for everyday people, for people like you and me.
Exactly.
Who are wrestling with faith and doubt.
Yeah.
Who are trying to navigate the complexities of life.
Trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And who are seeking to grow closer to God.
That's right.
And that's what makes them so
powerful.
And so relevant.
Yes.
Even today.
Even today.
They speak to the heart of the human experience.
They do.
Regardless of our background.
Yeah.
Or our beliefs.
So.
And, as we've delved into these letters, we've uncovered some really important truths about the spiritual battle we face each day.
We have.
We've seen how the enemy works.
How he tries to deceive us.
How he tries to distract us.
How he tries to divide us.
But we've also seen
how
we can resist those temptations.
How we can arm ourselves.
How we can arm ourselves with God's truth.
Yes.
How we can cultivate
virtues.
Virtues like humility. Compassion.
Gratitude.
And how we can
find strength
and support
in community. And most importantly,
we've been reminded that we're not alone.
We're not alone in this battle. We have God on our side. And he's given us everything we need
to
overcome the enemy's schemes.
That's right.
And live a life of victory.
And that is the goal.
It is.
To live a life of victory.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a truly enlightening experience.
It has.
And
I just want to encourage you as you go about your day to be mindful of the things we've discussed. Be aware of the enemy's tactics.
Be vigilant.
Yes, be vigilant.
Guard your heart and mind.
That's right.
And rely on God's strength.
Absolutely.
And to remember that you're not alone in this journey.
You're not.
We're all in this together.
We are.
And with God's help,
we can overcome
any obstacle. And achieve anything he calls us to do.
Amen to that.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time.
See you next time.
Keep seeking, keep growing, and keep the faith.
Absolutely.